So really when we're talking about how do you attract key talent, you just need a strategy. Nobody develops a product and says, yes, without a marketing strategy, everyone is going to come buy my widget, right? You see advertising, you see publications. There's absolutely no difference when you're talking about recruiting talent. You just have to have a strategy, and especially today with social media, Glassdoor, all these research tools available to job applicants, even if you don't have a presence, they're going to research you. They're going to find you. They're going to create their own reputation about you. So it's better to give them what you want them to think of you than to leave them on their own. So today we're really going to talk about what is a recruitment marketing strategy, which is just a fancy term for how to plan on how to be attractive to potential employees. It's really all that is. So you're looking to not only attract employees, but referral sources also. Deborah may not plan to leave the building supply industry for her entire life, but her neighbor might, her son might. So she, as a referral source, also needs to understand what type of employees you're looking for and why you are attracted to those potential job candidates. Recruitment marketing covers everything that you would see in a traditional marketing plan. Your SEO, your website, your social media profiles, your marketing materials, like the brochures that are sitting on your tabletops. Anything where you're introducing your company is part of a recruitment strategy. And what is the goal? Simple. You need good employees. Have any of you posted a job on Indeed or ZipRecruiter recently?
Recently.
I know y'all have. And I know Stephen and I did. We posted a customer service job. One day, less than 24 hours, and I had to take it down the next morning because I had over 200 candidates apply for this one position. Going through them, do you know how many of them were actually what Stephen and I were looking for?
Less than.
You girls know, you ladies know, less than 5.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's a lot of time and money spent getting your jobs out there to get applicants, but if you're not getting applicants that you want, it doesn't matter that you got 200 resumes. Now those of us in staffing, it's a little different because it still builds our pipeline for future needs. But for most employers, if you're not in the staffing industry, you don't want 200 applicants that you can't use. Like, honestly, who are you even going to pay to go through all that, right? So the whole goal of this is you will keep and create your own applicant pool so that when you need resources, you're not solely dependent on who applies on ZipRecruiter or CareerBuilder or from your company website, because you've got a following of potential job applicants who want to work for you because you knew that's the kind of employee you wanted, and you've created a marketing campaign to make your company attractive to those employees. So next, why is this important? These are really just some general statistics to tell you why you really should go back to your organizations and think about doing this. We all know the unemployment rate has dropped. And it really doesn't matter if you agree with how unemployment is calculated or not, because obviously that's a big debate in the world these days. The point is, if it's going down, there is a reality of fewer active job seekers. Some of them just have decided not to be active anymore. That's okay. Some of them, during the recession, took jobs that they were way overqualified for. So even though they're not active job seekers, they might be underqualified or underemployed. So you want to reach to the candidates who are not necessarily in that unemployed pool, because that's a pretty small bucket, but you're going to start attracting candidates who are employed. Because at 4.7%, and that's projected to keep going down through 2017, it's not 2010 anymore. You don't throw a job out there and you get to pick who you want. You got to fight for people. You got to compete for really good talent these days. 60% of applicants acknowledge that they apply for jobs they're not qualified for. Well, we just discussed that. And that is, very much a true fact. The average job seeker reads 6 reviews on a company before they decide if they want to interview or if they'll take an offer from an employer. 6 reviews. So if I were researching Vital Chiropractic, maybe I wanted to go work for her, where would I even see those reviews? Because the average job seeker is going to read 6 reviews. So if you don't give them something online to read, they're either going to walk away, think you're mom and pop, you have nothing to offer, or they're going to create their own image of what it's like to work there. And that image may not be what you want it to be. So it's very important that you keep this in mind and you're giving people information to read that you've directed. It's also important to know, what are you looking for? We all hear social media, social media, social media. That is still not the the only way to recruit. It's still not the only way to attract job applicants. If your potential job applicants are baby boomers, 50% of them are still using traditional methods and or desktop computers to do their research and apply for jobs. Now, if your industry doesn't hire a lot of baby boomers, you may not care about that. But if it does, and all of your efforts are on social media, you're probably excluding some of that population because they don't know about you, because they're not on their phone like this 24/7, okay? So it's important to learn what your dynamics are. No offense to any millennials in the room.
And it's only because it's my job.
But
It's only because it's my job. Sorry.
that is a great example. If your target audience is a millennial, you got to understand, how do you attract them? What are their expectations and how are they different? It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just different. And you got to know how to reach that population. So there also is a different mindset now, that for those of you who are lucky enough to be recruiting back when we still faxed resumes, it's a lot different now. Now candidates are interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them. And 10 years ago, that really wasn't the case. If you wanted to hire somebody, you gave them a competitive salary and a title. I mean, where do you drug test and sign up, right? That's not the case anymore. Even when you make an offer, it's becoming more and more common. People want time to review that offer. They want to research your company. They're going on Glassdoor and reading all the reviews about you. So it's really important to keep in mind that everything you do recruiting-wise, they're interviewing you now as much as you're interviewing them. This changes the focus on what we've traditionally called hiring. Okay, and it's important to realize the difference in hiring and recruiting. Hiring says, you know, Connor has a job open, you put a body in there. That's hiring. Recruiting is the strategic effort of constantly being in front of the audience you need to reach so that when you need to hire, you already have an applicant pool. Okay, so recruiting is much more proactive versus reactive. And if your organizations have ever used a recruiting firm, sometimes you may say, how on earth did they find this Betty Jo when I have spent months looking for Betty Jo? It's because a recruiting firm's whole entire job is to market to candidates. So what some of us do full-time is probably about 5 or 10% of what you do full-time. So it's easier to keep that supply and that pipeline. If you figure out how to do more of this on your own, you still have to use recruiting firms for certain positions. That's just not going to go away. And in some business models, it just makes more sense. But if you can integrate a marketing strategy into your recruiting, then you can find the process to be much more simple, and you can shift your mindset from hiring to really recruiting. And this ties directly into your retention too. Because if you're just hiring, you probably have pretty high turnover. Because that's another consideration. So how do you do this? And y'all, at any point, ask questions. Or if I talk too fast, just let me know. So there's basically 6 steps. And for Deborah, for example, if you do marketing for your company, you'll see these are the exact same steps that you pretty much follow for a product, for a service, to launch something, to enter a new geography space with your company. It's the exact same principle. You've got to figure out your objectives. Then you have to figure out your target audience. That is sometimes the hardest part, is figuring out your target audience. So we'll talk about that a lot. Identify your products and services. And keep in mind, these are not the products and services you sell. These are the products and services that your company and your culture offer that make people want to work for you. Okay? So this is not your widget. This is your benefits plan, your retirement plan, those kind of things. You got to create a strategy. That's probably the most time-consuming, not the hardest, but the most time-consuming piece. Then you implement, and then monitor, analyze, report, and adjust. I cannot emphasize that last one enough. I see tons of companies who spend all this time, all this money. They have this great plan. They launch it, and then they never look at it again. So how do you know if it's effective? And how do you know what's changed? I mean, this is a living strategy in your organization. It should change at a minimum annually, but it should be changing more often than that. If you launch a new product, you open an office in a new location, any changes like that, you need to update this plan. It is ongoing. So let's look at each of the steps a little more closely. Step 1, define your objectives. I'm not going to read all these things to you. The biggest thing here is, what are your challenges? So for example, if you're not getting the volume of social workers that you need, okay, that might be one of your challenges. So one of your objectives would be to increase your applicant pool or your potential candidate reach for social workers. Okay, that would be an example of one objective. And you've really got to understand what challenges you want to face. That's what dictates your objectives. Okay? And the two things that are most important on this one is, one, are your objectives honestly going to fix the challenges that you've got? Because if not, you're wasting your time. But more important is, or as important, is do you have executive buy-in? Now, depending on your size of company, like Alicia, if she buys in herself, sold. You know, I don't care. If you buy in yourself, sold. For some of you, if you are with municipalities, government entities, or larger corporations, even if you believe this is necessary, if you cannot get your manager, your marketing team, your HR head, someone like that to buy in with you, it won't be effective. Because they're not going to give you the budget, they're not going to give you the resources. It's just not going to work. So getting that stakeholder buy-in is really important so that you don't waste a ton of time. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about things you can do even if you don't have buy-in. Kind of generic applications of the strategy that work for anybody. So once you figured out your objectives, we'll go with social workers. You got to define your audience. Now, I'll be honest, I don't recruit a lot of social workers, so my knowledge in that area is a little bit light, so I may have to ask a few questions. But the important thing about targeting your audience is you've got to know, what is a typical social worker profile? What type of person am I looking for? Is it a female? Is it a male? Is it a millennial? Is it a baby boomer? Is it a generation, Y, X? Is it someone local? Or is this such a hard skill set? I gotta look all over the state or all over the country. What kind of education would this person normally have? And you've really got to figure out not just the title of what you need, but what that person is most likely to be like. Do they have common hobbies? Maybe a lot of social workers volunteer at hospitals. Or maybe they foster parent. Those type of things that really aren't relevant to the job, but what they do is give you different channels to connect with that population. That's what you're looking for. So when you're looking at your target audience, you have to get pretty granular. It doesn't mean that if somebody who doesn't fit that mold applies, that you don't consider them. This is strategic, not discriminatory. Okay? So the stereotyping is really to help you figure out ways to reach as many of those people as possible. Okay? Hobbies, perks, things like that. What are they looking for? If you don't recruit millennials, we actually had a great presentation at the Chamber. Hopefully y'all came last time. And we had one at SHRM this week talking about the things millennials are looking for. And if you need them in your workforce and you are not addressing those needs, you're not going to get them. They want immediate feedback. If they apply to your job tomorrow and you don't even call them for a month, you have probably lost that prospect. If you're not on Twitter or social media and you're looking for millennials, you're not going to have a great success record there. You're going to get the millennials who need a job, not necessarily the ones that you want. And that's the goal, is to figure out how to get the ones that you want. The other thing about an audience is it needs to be specific. So if you've got 5 or 6 general types of positions you need to fill, one plan won't work for everybody. Okay, so you got to have a strategy for each of those big sections and rank them, prioritize them. Maybe you have critical positions, focus on them first. If you've got a high volume or an upcoming seasonal need, maybe you focus on that first. But if you try to address every need at one time, it'll take you a really long time to implement an effective strategy. So kind of prioritize what it is that you need so that you can do the most important ones first. All right, your products and services. How do you know what people want? You can ask them. Exactly. Do y'all do that in your company?
Not so much.
Okay, that's fair. I won't write it. That's okay. So one of the best ways, you can go on the internet and you can research everything under the sun. Or if you know you already have 5 or 10 social workers, or maybe your top 10 patrolmen, things like that, survey them. They're your current employees. They already represent what you're looking for. Survey them. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? If we wanted to reach you in a marketing campaign, what resources do you look at? Publications, social media, trade organizations. Use them to help you with this research, because it will save you a ton of time. Now, if you have a whole group of bad employees that you kind of want to replace, I'd skip the survey part. Okay, but if you've got a good group that you want to replicate, your current employees can be your quickest and most accurate way to figure out the parameters for your target audience. Then you gotta figure out, what does my company even offer? I mean, what do we even offer? If you're a company that's really small, maybe you don't have employee benefits. Well, that's not a great selling feature. But what do you offer that counterbalances that? Because I'm confident you've got plenty of things. Do you have flexible work schedules? Do you have remote Fridays? Do you wear blue jeans? Do you have wellness plans? Gym discounts? I mean, the list is endless. But you got to figure out what you offer that your audience wants, and you really need to know what you don't offer that your audience wants. Because then in your marketing campaign, you got to sell what you have enough to make what you don't have a nominal issue. So if you don't have benefits, maybe you do stipends, or maybe you do loan repayments, tuition assistance. I mean, the list is literally endless. All right, then you create your strategy. I'm definitely not reading all these, but these are just some thinking points. So when you go back to your office, you're like, oh yeah. You know, a couple points for creating your strategy is to know where you might fail. The biggest point of failure is not to include a way to review and analyze the effectiveness of your strategy. You've got to have that, because the first time you roll it out, you may not get what you want. You're going to need to tweak it. So you've definitely got to include in here a way to measure that. Let's say that one of the initiatives you put out is a blog on your website, and you didn't have one previously. Well, it doesn't do you any good to have a blog if you're the only one reading it. So maybe you use Google Analytics to just see what kind of traffic you're getting on it. That won't tell you if it's the right traffic, but it'll at least tell you if you're getting traffic. And if you're not, okay, is it the content? Is it my SEO? Is a blog just not relevant to my audience? But you can't solve those questions if you don't know what you rolled out didn't work. So that is very important when you create your strategy. And definitely don't forget your current and past employees. If you are not tracking where you get your employees from, you should be. Are they applying to job boards? Are they referrals? Did they just walk into my storefront? You got to know where your good employees are coming from to leverage that a little bit more. And there's certain technology to do this, and we'll get to that in a slide in a few minutes, but that's another constraint here. So rolling out the strategy will take you quite a while, and it's not going to be a one and done. The answer is not, oh, I'm going to post on Facebook once a week. Okay? That is not the answer. You need to know what time you're posting, what titles you put out there, how frequently you post, and you got to have more than one channel of media. Doesn't have to be social media. It could be your, the Lexington Mint Monthly or the Lexington Chronicles or something that you're putting up in the chamber. I mean, there's so many options. Social media is just one of them. All right, so when you implement your strategy, your fail point that you have to be careful about here is training. So let's say we've done a great job. We have this perfect social worker. She's interviewed with HR. Yes, we are good, right? And one of the things we've sold to her is our outstanding retirement plan, because that's important to her. She goes to interview, and we told her maybe this is a flexible schedule. And the manager's like, oh, well, let me tell you, you're going to clock in at 7:50. If you're late once, I'm going to write you up. I can withhold your benefits if you aren't doing a good enough job. I just won't have the company match your retirement. They can say the most ridiculous things. I'm confident none of your managers have ever done this. But if you don't train your managers on what strategy you're using to attract these people, they can undo everything you've done in the interview process. So that training is so important. For every audience you have, when that manager goes to interview, they need to understand, at least statistically speaking, these should be the things that are important to this candidate. Do your normal interview, but sell these features. Reinforce this message that we've communicated to the audience. If you don't do that, you wasted your time. Unless you just have HR interview, which is pretty rare. All right, any questions on, we got one more step. Measure, report, analyze, and adjust. I think we kind of beat that dead horse already. But if I could figure out how to make PowerPoint, like bing, 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 and flash, and send off fireworks for this slide, I would have done it. But I'm HR, not tech, so this was the news I got. Okay. Any questions on actually creating the strategy?
Yeah, can we, we've got quite a cross section of people. Can people give examples of what they've done or not done? Can we share some of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Steps? And then, then you do it to the next
Yeah.
thing.
Does anybody have an example you want to share of something you've either done, shouldn't have done?
One of the big things for me is having been a corporate person, I was with Starwood Hotels for a while and having, and then being on my own. You have to, and I find this even with small companies here, you have to teach the managers how to interview.
You absolutely have to.
That behavioral interviewing techniques is imperative that they do it, because as you said, it will unravel everything you do, because they're asking the old way questions rather than the new way. They're asking, so, what do you want to do in the next 10 years? Who cares? I don't know what I want to do in 10 years. But you're going to ask them specifically, based on the job that you have, what are the skills that, correlate with it and so forth.
And that's a good point, and making sure they understand the difference in what they want and what they need.
Right.
Because those aren't always the
So,
same thing.
but it's very specific. So, you call people like Kelly and myself to help you get those together, and they have a very specific program, and they realize it. And then, my big thing is once you teach the skills, go back as your management and make sure those skills stick. Coach them. So give me a couple questions that you're going to ask at the next interview. Blah blah blah. So that you know that those skills are going to be taught the way you want them to be taught. That's that whole strategy.
Yeah. And that can be hard, and if you're in a position where maybe that training would be lacking, a lot of times I recommend that the HR point of contact, or whoever's in charge of your recruitment marketing strategy, maybe they need to sit in on interviews with them, so that if the manager is missing some key selling points, and you really like this candidate, you've got a second person in there to try to help rein it back towards the conversation that you want to happen. Now clearly these need to be factual. I mean, I have had clients before who really stretched it. Like a 1% match after 3 years of employment on 401k, you don't need to be selling your benefits, your retirement plan. Like that's a stretch. You have one. You say, I got one. That's not your selling feature. So you definitely want, like Alicia said, to have your management team trained and online with you.
You don't want to do a gang interview, but no.
I have clients who do that. It's very
it's
intimidating.
terrible. And because the candidate does not give their best, but to have one or two people in the room to catch the note, one can take notes, and then the other one say, oh, we forgot to ask blah blah blah, and then you ask that. But please, don't do 4 or 5 or 6 people in a room. 2 is plenty.
I see some people, I'm not going to call you out, hiding your head. Believe it or not, that is a very common practice.
It's gross. I'm sorry.
It's very intimidating to the job applicant, and it actually diminishes the chance of you having an effective interview, because you can read people's body language, and a candidate who's interviewing for a job, they want to impress everybody for the most part. And so once they say one thing that they realize got a smile from Connor and a frown from Deborah, they're like, oh, crud. And then you just stop getting honest answers. They're just trying to placate everybody and please everybody. So 2 or 3 people is usually the max. If you need 6 people to interview, just make it a long day and go.
Yeah, they go to 2 people here, 2 people here, 2 people there, and be done with it. And let them take a break, let them go to the bathroom, let them have lunch. You forget these things.
If it's a high level,
I need a glass of
job,
water.
you feed them lunch, right? And panel interviews were much more common when the recession was more prevalent, because people weren't vetting you as the employer as much as they are now. So you could get away with some of those tactics back in 2009, 2010 that just aren't as effective now. Anybody else have questions before we move on to the next piece of this? Or examples, anything you want to share?
I think that point is, one of the, aside from analyzing the point of training the internal staff, I think it is the most important piece.
And you're probably like me, Georgia. It's hard when you're in a staffing firm, because every client has a whole, like, you get new managers every day. So it's this continual cycle. So for those of you who really have access to your managers, that is such a benefit to sit down and train them. Okay, marketing tools. There are a million of them. This is just a very, very, very short list. And it's really designed to get you more thinking about what your media channels are, as opposed to using one of them. So I would definitely not propose, unless you're a big company, that you go out and you try to use LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, a blog, YouTube, Glassdoor, and a scheduling tool, all in your first strategy. Because if you do, you will do nothing else. This is it. You won't even have time to interview the people that you've attracted, right?
What's Glassdoor?
Glassdoor, it is a third-party company that specializes in employee communications with external. So, for example, if you go and you look at like the chamber on Glassdoor, past and current employees can go out there and write reviews on it. It can give you a history of where it ranked on being the best place to work for, gives you a summary of the products, the services, some of the benefits that they know. And frequently, you can even go and see a list of previous jobs that that employer has posted.
Salary information as well.
Yep, salary. And they do a lot of surveys, so you can actually get some pretty good data. Here's the thing, if you go on Glassdoor, you gotta be prepared, because much like Facebook, if you wanna build your reputation, you gotta be willing to take it on the chin sometimes. Let's face it, none of us are never going to have a bad employee. I think that was bad grammar. But at some point, we're all gonna have an experience where an employee leaves on bad terms. They're gonna go out to Glassdoor and they're gonna say, 1 star, by the way, 5 is good. Terrible, do not work there, liars, cheaters, thieves, blah, blah, blah. Probably a few, deleted or bleeped out words. And you're gonna go, ugh. And you'll see in the slide, that's part of the strategy. You've gotta know who's accountable for stuff like that. Because the worst thing you can really do is go and delete it. Because you can tell when companies have done that. You gotta rebut it and or have some sort of general acknowledgement. Same with Facebook. Now Facebook's a little easier because you can lock out your comments and you can make Facebook let you review it before it goes out there. But a company with all 5s is just as unreputable as a company with no rating. No one's gonna have all 5s. So even if you need to call your mom, your sister, your brother, or somebody and say, hey, go give me a 4, go get a 4. Okay, because perfection is not a reality. So Glassdoor, if you've never Googled it, you might be surprised. I bet you have a company profile out there and you may not even know it. Because they can create this. As an employee, I can go out there and say, I work for company Stephen Snipes, blah, 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 blah. Terrible. Now, if you see one of those, you can go in as an admin, register, and fix it. Or we can't really fix it, but you can smooth it over. Make it look a little less painful. And if you get a bad review on Glassdoor, one of the best things you can do is think in your company who are 4 or 5 employees that you know are loyal and really like you. Go ask them to give you a good review. Because then, though you may have that bad review that day, go and get some of your employees to go share the good. Because we all know when things are going bad, you're a lot more vocal. When things are going good, you're not. Same with Facebook. If you have a really bad experience, a lot of employers are scared to get into social media because they feel like it'll hurt their reputation. But if you do it correctly, it'll actually help it. You just got to have some plans on how to counteract any negatives that do come up. Written publications. Again, the world is not only on social media. Okay? You still got magazines, radio ads, special interest publications like AHIMA, HIMSS, chamber articles, things like that. Press announcements. We're so lucky around here. We have tons of places we can get free press announcements. You just send it in. That's great. Launch a new product. That's great. Roll out a new benefit. Do a press announcement. Okay, these are the things that people who want to work for you, they want to see. They just need to know your name. It's all about building a brand, but an employer brand instead of a product brand. Banners and billboards. Believe it or not, I know I used to see Pam's face on a billboard when I drove down 378. But you know what? People see a face and they relate. This is why almost all realtors have their face on a business card. Because it's such a competitive space, they want that personal face-to-face connection with you. Same thing for almost any company. People want to work and deal with people that they trust, that they like. You got to build a reputation around that. Internal staff, this is probably the most underutilized one. Internal staff are great for referrals. They're great to survey or to send out to professional affiliations. If you're looking to hire an HR person or even have an HR department, go send somebody to SHRM. Mingle. Get to know that market. Testimonials. This is one of the cheapest ways to grow your brand. Interview an employee or client. Put a testimonial out there on your website. Do a quick little video, throw it up on YouTube. It's what, an hour, 2 hours of your time? Probably not even really any money. So testimonials are a great way. Now remember, in this testimonial, you're not looking for best widget I've ever used. You're looking for best place I've ever worked. Remember, that's the product and service you're selling, is you as an employer, not as a producer, manufacturer, or services organization. Interviews. Interview your staff. Survey them. You know, if you have a high turnover area, one of your objectives should be stabilizing that department. You need a recruitment marketing strategy focused to stabilizing it. If you don't really know why it's failing or why everybody's quitting after 30 days, you're not even ready to make your strategy. You're still in the research phase. You're pre-objective, okay? Interviews are a great way to do that. They just need to be done in a way that your employees feel safe, that they feel they can communicate with you openly, and then that interview could turn into the best testimonial for your website the next day. Other technologies. Do any of y'all use a CRM or an applicant tracking system? I mean, I know you ladies do. Anybody else? Do y'all know what those are? Okay. Applicant tracking system, let's say you did get 200 resumes from Indeed. This is a place you store them all. You may not need them today, but you might need them later. So when you build your applicant tracking system, which is an easy piece of software that holds pretty much anybody who's applied for a job, the great thing is you can also mass email them. So maybe they aren't what you wanted today, but if you do something great or you have a press release, a lot of times you can send that out to everybody in your applicant tracking system. And it's a great way to stay in front of people who've previously expressed an interest in working for you. They may not be there today, and they may hit the unsubscribe button and say, don't send me this again. Okay, what harm's done with that? You've still got some brand recognition out of it. Google Analytics, there's a million tools, kind of like a Google Analytics. Same for recruiter marketing platforms. You can go out and find tons of them that'll integrate. Some of them are expensive, but you can get tools like this as cheap as probably $20 a month, or you could spend about $300,000 a year. I'm kind of a 20 a month kind of gal, but you know, your CFOs might be more generous. Other resources, universities, obviously. And I know sometimes it's hard to navigate that relationship with the university, and you feel like you're putting all this in and you're not getting anything out. It's really important to actually have a relationship with the Career Center, not just the technology the Career Center uses. Otherwise, you're going to post, you're not going to get any applicants, and you're going to go, huh, that didn't work. Government agencies, Department of Employment Workforce, VA services, depending on your target audience, these are great places, and typically they're free or minimal cost to use. Chambers are great places. Your visitor centers, relocation services. Event sponsorships. That's a huge one. So for social workers, maybe there's a large population of social workers who foster or involved with disabilities, for example. Maybe doing a sponsorship for the Special Olympics would be a great, very specific audience and target to reach them. Job fairs and virtual job fairs. If you're a techie person, you're probably into the virtual job fairs. If you're not, you're still doing it old school where here's my booth, you come talk to me, I talk to you, here's my flyer, here's my resume, we move on. Both of them are great ways. Again, you're just looking to advertise your company, but for what you offer the employee, not what you sell. Yes?
The university thing, if you want to volunteer, and if you are a good interviewer at the universities, they do a lot of mock interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a great way, and you wear your little badge, you got your name on, and you do an actual interview for them. And they give you a format of what they want to. But as an adult, and the students are there, it's great. And then you have the audience of the, of that whole career center.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, oh, I remember you because you came in and helped us. So when you need people, they'll send them to you.
Yeah, and you can do mock interviews with the universities, with trade schools. You can do them with your own staff. Now, I've done it. You're going to get some people rolling their eyes like, oh my God, role play, are you kidding me? But it is effective. I mean, it really is. It makes you conscious about what you say and how the person responds. And if you do it in a very healthy environment, there shouldn't be any risk or fear for doing it. You know, you work with people you trust. If you don't, you need to start researching some other employers and consider some options. But doing stuff like this should be in your safe zone. And the universities are great for helping with that.
And don't call it role playing anymore. Call it skills practice. If you're doing it internally within your company, say, here's some things I want you to do for an interview, but let's practice this skill for you to get better. And cut out that word.
She's a trainer. I just call it mock interview. Skills practice.
Skills practice.
Okay, I've got a new term. All right, any questions on this? Am I on Wi-Fi over here?
I don't know if you're connected to it. Why? But I can connect you.
Do you mind?
Yeah.
Okay. How many of you think if you went back to your employer today and you said, I need a recruitment marketing strategy, they would say, we don't have the money for it? None of you? I need to know where y'all are working, for sure. So the thing about a recruitment marketing strategy is it doesn't have to be expensive. So I have two examples here of very effective ways to reach your target audience. We're actually going to, I put them in here backwards. I want to look at the Adidas one first. So when you look at this little video clip, it's very short. Think about who, when you watch this, can you tell who their target audience is? That's the trick, right? Because this isn't about buying Adidas shoes or tennis shoes. It's about their people. And then the IKEA one, it might be one of my absolute favorites, ever. And you're going to laugh when you see it. Or at least I did, but I'm kind of nerdy. Yeah, it's just the links. Oh, that's fine. Just whenever it connects. If not, I can talk to him. All right, any questions while we're waiting on the videos to pull up? Any questions?
Your presentation's very
Thanks. I feel bad because I can't see my finger, and I just like I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be on video doing this the whole time. Like, because I can't bend my finger. I'm like, this is awful.
It's helpful to me because my, I guess, placement in my organization is a little bit different. We didn't have a recruiter.
Okay.
So I was my background in marketing, so this is all very helpful to me, and I'm not in HR, so it's a little different. And we do have a panel, and I'm not involved in that, so I'm just kind of feeling my way.
Do you have a marketing department?
We do not.
Do you have an HR department?
We do.
Okay. Your hiring managers can function kind of in lieu of a marketing department and really partner with HR. The goal is for there to be just some congruency. So every company is set up a little bit differently, so don't let the department titles be a burden. Kind of say, okay, well, this person does this person does that. How can we pair together? Because you'll find, too, if you do have any marketing for your company at all, no matter who does it, you'd be amazed how easy it is to tag on some of the people sell to the ads that are already out there. Have any of y'all seen the new Spirit Communications advertisement for the sales rep? Well, it's this guy, and he's standing out there, and he's like, do you want to earn 6 figures? Join our new cutting edge, I forgot the garbage. Anyway, but when you read it, there are a couple plugs in there about the services they sell. But it's more about recruiting salespeople. And it's very well done, and I'm not even, never mind, that's on video. It's very well done. But what they did was they found a way to use one message for both. So they talk about their high-speed services. They're trying to get salespeople in here. Most research shows the number one motivator for sales is money. So that's the first thing. It hits you as soon as you look at that ad. Salespeople, 6 figures. Then a little bit about their services. Then a little kind of warm fuzzies. There's great ways that whether you have a marketing or an HR department, if you're doing any sort of advertising, you can kind of merge it into one campaign. You just have to be very careful when you do it. So if you're selling a product where the product is kind of conflicted to what you're looking for, those aren't a good pairing. Most places, though, you could do that, but it is harder when you don't have a marketing team.
And I think that's been the challenge for us is our HR has been more reactive. The hiring, that's kind of what their focus has been, not necessarily the marketing. So it's, for me, it's getting the buy-in from all these different people that I need to come to the table and getting us all to work together. So.
And when you're behind, if you've got a lot of openings, it's very difficult to break that cycle of being reactive. Because you've got people in your office complaining because they're working 10 and 12-hour days because you're short-staffed. Like, who's going to stop doing what they're doing to do this? So it is really important to be able to balance that. And maybe it is that you just do a very small initial marketing campaign, which could be, okay, what are the, like, if you didn't even care what your audience was, what are the best things about working for your company? And it could be that simple just to focus on them. Maybe you have flexible schedules, good benefits. Maybe you've got pictures of people eating cake in the break room. I mean, whatever you've got that makes you enjoy working there, you can kind of scale it initially to something really small and just work on getting some sort of word out there about what a great place you are to work. And when you start doing this, if you're struggling because you can't come up with anything good about your company to market to a new employee, you gotta take a step back first. Because you really should have something to give an employee that they would be excited about.
Some, I think, people are just not really good at creating those plans, and if you partner with a staffing company such as Kelly's or Spirions of the world, we create these all the time.
All
for lots of
day.
different companies, so, that's an effective use of our agencies to help you create these plans. And then also, you have access to the best candidates on the market. It may be one you find, but it may be one we find, but
Oh,
ultimately,
you're fine.
you get the people you need to make your organization successful.
And sometimes you can just get caught up that way. You just say, you know what, here's where I'm at. I gotta fill these 10 positions, I can move on to something better, and you outsource it. Because a lot of companies outsource their entire recruiting function. No different than they do their IT department or their payroll services.
Or cost effective, or just quality.
Yeah, and in doing that, sometimes it's a great chance for someone to align with you and be a true partner to help you implement these strategies. And we actually go into companies sometimes and do them. Look at what they've got, create a plan, show them, you know, where their gaps are, make some tool recommendations, you know, help them figure out their budget, and most importantly, help them figure out their ROI, because you got to be able to get your money back out of it, or your stakeholder that you just fought to get this is going to be really mad on the back end, right? We may or may not watch a video today. You know.
Kelly, I think too, to share for everyone, just from a candidate's perspective, especially now, because I think there's a lot of benefits to candidates, knowing that there's that extra layer. They feel like there's more transparency. Maybe you
They do.
can
And
say that.
transparency, especially with the younger generations, the millennials, they'll tell you that is huge for them is transparency. They want to know all the details. And as an organization, if you outsource it, giving your partner the information they need to be transparent with candidates is important. And if you're not outsourcing it, you got to convince your managers it's important. If somebody asks you, are you $1 million revenue company or 500, your financials should not be that confidential that you may not tell them exactly what your P&L says. But the big picture, there should be no reason you aren't sharing that with your candidates. You know, give them that sense of security.
They're able to find it.
They're going to find it. They're going to get a Glassdoor or to Hoover's, and they're going to tell them anyway.
What was the second?
Hoover's. Or there's actually a software, this probably freak you out a little bit. It's called Definitive. It's a healthcare application. But it tells you the financials of a hospital, so you can tell if they are at risk of bankruptcy, if they are being considered for acquisition, what their revenue is, how much they spend on recruiting, what changes they've had, like in their C-suite. And Steven knows, like, I love this software, and I drool every day, but it's a little out of our budget. But the capability is out there for anybody to learn anything they want about your business these days. So transparency is almost essential. Because if you're not transparent, people think you've got something to hide. Okay?
You know, I like.
Is it working?
ready?
Yeah, I just switched it to my computer, but yes.
Huh.
Okay,
Awesome.
I'll say something.
No, go for it. We got time.
Okay, but I love the part that you did best. And you know, these plans, I've done them for years. You can just have a 3-page, just say I'm going to have 3 pages, whatever. The front cover, some objectives, and then how you're going to do it on the 3rd page. But taking it by generation, and even just have a grid and say, for the millennials, we're going to do blah, 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 blah. For the Gen Xers, we're doing the same thing of that, and we're adding this, whatever it is. And that's good enough. And then tell your manager what you're going to do. I was, well, the queen of referrals. Get your employees to refer people.
Yes. But if you get referrals,
Pay them.
don't ask for them if you are not going to follow up on them.
That's right.
Because that will kill your relationship with your existing person who did put their name on the line to give you a referral. So
Right.
just don't ask if you're not going to follow up
Make
with
sure
them.
you interview those people, regardless, if you can do that. Absolutely, and then also pay these people when they're hired, pay the employee, not 3 months from now. Ugh, terrible. Within 30 days, give them whatever the award is gonna be, and don't make it $10. You know, a good administrative assistant is you should give them $100 for that. And for technical people, it should be, you know, up to $1,000.
I was going to say the average range these days for employee referrals is 100 to 1,000, depending on your industry. And if your company can't buy into that, there's other ways to incentivize employers.
That's
Maybe
true.
you just acknowledge them with a certificate and you put that up on LinkedIn. You know, you give them some sort of recognition is very important. Okay, so we can watch it now?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna watch IKEA first, and then I'm gonna explain why I think this is funny and y'all may not. And it's not for the music.
Clever,
So who knows what I love about this?
clever.
The music.
I do love the music. It makes me want to square dance, right? I think you said it.
How it's connected to the services, I guess, that they offer.
And they spent $0. Other than the cost to print on a piece of paper, they opened a new store by just simply adding a flyer into every box that a customer got via delivery from a product they ordered. So this is an example, I think, of how if you get rejected for a lack of budget, you just got to get more creative.
Yeah.
Because you can do this, and their goal was, we want to reach people who love our brand. Because they're either going to be assembling it or probably in a retail store. Retail people, if you love the brand, you can sell all day long, right? How brilliant! The easiest fix. And who would have thought of sticking a flyer in a box as a recruiting marketing strategy? Plus, I do like music. And then we'll look at one that's not funny, but I want you to kind of see all the hidden messages in it, because it'll speak to you at kind of a different level.
Very clever.
I wonder why it didn't pull up on my link. Hold on, I think I hit the button. Y'all keep talking amongst yourselves. We're just addressing technical difficulties. Oh no, you're fine.
When we were in California, when you saw an IKEA go up, it's like, whoa. You know?
I mean, when are we getting one?
Yeah, where is one?
I mean, I'll
There's one
stuff
in
the boxes
Charlotte.
myself.
So I love those little Swedish meatballs they
Oh,
sell.
That
Delicious.
sounds so good right now.
I think it's
So hungry.
Or the like breakfast and everything.
Yeah, that's it. Alright, so here's the Adidas one. It's a little longer, not as funny, but it'll give you an idea of some different options from the IKEA, which is my personal favorite.
It's great.
Isn't that hilarious? Like, and I was
So
just sitting there
simple.
thinking, I have clients who build stuff. This is absolutely brilliant. Why have I not thought of this myself? You know?
It's like with the power you've got,
How would you do the
releasing
building?
one shot.
47,000 people
Can y'all
strong.
see it good enough?
A little bit.
Always wanted to be a part of this company.
We are from all over the world.
We're not watching whole
These are not just colleagues. These are my people, my friends. When you love what you do, it's not really work. It's just what you do.
This is what drives us, the feeling of discovery and the urge to innovate.
It's hard work inventing the future of sport. And that's why we love it.
together, I think it makes us one of the strongest organizations in the world.
All right, so what's the difference in the takeaway from this one versus the IKEA? Okay, well, I'll just say this is an example of combining your recruitment marketing strategy with your product. They're talking about how much they love there. These are my people. These are my friends. I've always wanted to work for this company. That's the recruitment marketing piece. But they're all wearing Adidas. They're showing Adidas products. The same people in the beginning who want to work there and are talking are the same people promoting the products on the back end. So this is an example of where if you do have a dedicated marketing department, it is so easy to integrate that recruitment piece into it if you're collaborating. If you're not collaborating, it won't work as well. But if you're going to spend the money to have a TV ad, most places, unless you're Google, probably need that budget to cover multiple things, not just one. So if you've got that budget or that capacity to do TV ads like this, great. If not, you can do something very similar with just a video and a YouTube channel on your own. It may not be on WIS News or, on Fox commercials, but it'll be on YouTube. And when you're looking at potential employees, they're researching you. Believe it or not, YouTube is one of their go-to channels. This is where they go. So maybe you don't want to blog. Maybe you just once a month put something out there about your company and why people want to work here. YouTube's a great opportunity for that. And you can even lock down YouTube channels too, so that people can't comment on them. They can just share them and like them. And there's all sorts of features out there on how you can kind of protect your brand at the same time as promoting it. But YouTube is a great option that has become very prevalent, especially with millennials, mostly the younger millennials, for recruiting. Oh, I forgot it on the slide anymore. It's okay.
But not once do they show a sneaker. Adidas to me says sneaker. I'm old school.
And you know what though? That could be part of it too. Is sometimes when you get too much of a brand thing, you're looking to mix it up. So maybe that was a sidebar thought for them is, oh, we also make rackets and we also make shirts and we also make, I don't know if they actually make tennis balls or not, but I remember seeing a tennis ball.
But they also show different genders, different ethnicities.
Diversity.
I was going to say, I read
Yeah.
one of their core values is diversity. Yes.
That's the baby way.
And if you go to YouTube and Google in employer branding and recruitment, one of the first things that you'll see is a list of, and I don't even know who created it, it's a list of like 10, what are recommended as the 10 best videos. There's some awesome ones out there. And after you've kind of got your brain set on that, you tell exactly what they're looking for. Like you see, like one of them, I can't remember what company it is, but they have 6 different countries represented in the first 15 seconds. You're clearly an international company and you're looking for international recruiting. So it's one of those things that sometimes when you see it, you go, oh, that's so easy. It's just taking the time to sit down and figure out what you need and defining your audience. I mean, if somebody were to send to me a whole bunch of stuff on bilingual, that's not a good target. I don't speak anything except Southern English. Like, that's it, right? But yet, I do know people who are bilingual. So you got to figure out who that audience is and target it to them to make it the most effective. The last couple slides, it doesn't matter if we see them or not. They're really just some Q&A kind of stuff and final remarks. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah. But I did want to leave a few minutes at the end for any questions.
You had a great presentation. It was very good.
I always have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My other hat is my husband has a construction company. So how do I do a construction company and we want to find carpenters?
You want to find carpenters?
Yes.
Okay.
What are some
So-
strategies?
One of the things that you would do is you have to figure out, where would I find a carpenter? Lowe's, Home Depot. Sometimes you'll see like flyer publications, things like that come out. Those would be good resources to see if Lowe's will let you put a little something in there. Lowe's does those like Saturday training things. You could go to them and say, hey, I want to host a carpenter class for the kids on a Saturday. Then they're promoting your business to builders and people like that. And I don't know enough about carpenters specifically to tell you what their education background would be or exactly what's important to them.
It's really hands-on work.
So hands-on, so
That's our largest recruitment is
carpenters.
Yes.
So yeah, you could
That's where we have the
definitely,
highest turnover.
I would definitely try to partner with places like a Home Depot, a Lowe's, Ace Hardware, any place like that that might help you kind of get to know that audience.
We actually use Facebook and
Mhm.
we target the different states, because we have an influx from north down to south.
Mm-hmm.
There's a large, population of pool builders or pool building
Okay.
companies up north. So we target up north, and we've actually brought in several individuals doing that.
Yeah, I target a lot up north too, not for carpenters. Did it have to be licensed? If so, you could reach out to LLR and see what sort of resources you can partner with them for. But figuring out where those people are, and I don't know if y'all use LinkedIn or not, but leverage your vendor relationships. So for example, and I don't know enough, I don't do anything with carpentry specific, but I was struggling to find a very niche nurse. So I called one of the reps at LinkedIn, and she sent me this brochure, and it showed me where the highest populations of nurses were, what the supply and demand matrices were for those markets, what in their surveys was the most important thing to them. So right then I knew, if you're a nurse in Boston and you're looking to move, you don't have anywhere to go. So where am I going to send all of my efforts? I'm looking for somebody to move from Boston. So while off the top of my head, I could research it and probably give you some better suggestions specific to carpentry, but leverage those relationships. If you call an Indeed person or somebody at LinkedIn, or you go out there to Hoover's, do some research, you'll find where those hubs are, and then you just gotta leverage that information. Because Detroit, for example, I pull IT people out of Detroit all day long. I kind of feel bad, but it's a bad economy. The weather's, unless you love snow, not fabulous. Those IT people can't get here fast enough sometimes. But it's all about knowing where to go and how to target exactly what you need.
Recently, I've seen some very artful and interesting sponsor placements on Instagram. So it's been carpenters, it's been HVAC, it's been things that you wouldn't typically see. Instagram is a platform. When ads pop up, if it looks like an ad, you'll see the comments, and there'll be hundreds of them. It's like, get this off my feed.
Yeah.
But I've found that, these carpenter ones, it's like highlighting a project, but it's very artful how it's done. And so it follows that theme of why people come to Instagram. And so I could see that as being a recruiting tool. As people are blowing through their Instagram, it's like, oh, this is an interesting photograph. It highlights, Hoover Buildings, it's, you've got something very visual that you can take photographs of, and, I think you can be very strategic with it. I'm thinking the same thing with Twitter and Instagram as far as our recruiting, not having a picture of our badge so much as the things that we do. Like, what are really interesting things that we do that we can take great photography with and share on that platform. So, it's something I've seen just recently that it's been like, I would never have thought as a carpenter
To look there, yeah.
to look there, but that's the platform people are using, and I'm sure that there's a lot of females on that platform, and there was a lady in one of our classes that wanted a deck around her house. I think that an ad on Instagram would resonate with her, seeing that on her feed. So.
And like Pinterest can be a good option. And sometimes if you just need more followers, you just have to make sure people know you are the expert. So maybe you start your own newsletter. Maybe you host your own job fair, and you find a couple builders in cities around here that aren't really direct competitors or that you have a good relationship with. And you could host your own job fair. Get people to subscribe to your newsletter, to your blog, start a Pinterest page. The options are almost overwhelming. So you really do have to take a little bit of time to do your research. Like he said, like carpenters and Instagram, without doing any research, is not a connection I would have made in my head at all. So it just shows you that sometimes there's a lot of good outlets out there. But newsletters are always a good option for people to subscribe into. Blogging is usually a pretty good way to connect with a large amount of people, assuming that you actually share your blog, and maybe keep it a little more up to date than I do personally. Don't go to mine for that recommendation. Do as I say, not as I do when it comes to my blog. But I do think some of those are very easy things. Market your benefits, market, your employees. If you have no presence on Glassdoor, you just need to go out there and get one. It's free. Set it up. Because eventually you'll be out there. And I wish I knew more about carpenters since there's two of you, but that's just not my niche.
There's a very high turnover because they're and they'll go over there for 50 cents more an hour.
And I deal with that somewhat with even legal assistants. It's a common thing I run into is for a quarter, they're jumping ship. And I'm like, seriously?
Right.
Like,
But-
really?
But the other thing
But it
too,
happens.
you made a good point about work ethic.
Mhm.
And again, I'm new to the South here, I shall have to tread on this very lightly, but the work ethic of the Northerners, very truthfully, is different. And if they're gonna come here, we wanna attract those people because they're coming here for family, they're coming here for a lot of different reasons. But we can grab that group from the Midwest especially, because their skills are really good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of the skill level here is not, we built house in Vail, Colorado. Well, that's a whole different standard than some of the things that are being built.
And if you do have a space that's got a really high turnover, before you even try to create your strategy, the best thing to do might be to do really thorough exit interviews with them. Because you already know compensation is number one. Well, if you can't afford to fix that, you've got to find something else to not only attract them, but retain them. And girl, I could talk on that for hours. I have a whole nother presentation for that. But your exit interviews of why people are really leaving are probably the best source. Because if you can't do anything about the money, like none of us are Google. Like we can't just go out and buy employees. We got to attract them and retain them ourselves. I would say maybe exit interviews. Really get granular in those, making sure there's nothing else you could offer to try to keep them a little bit longer. Do y'all do exit interviews?
We have,
Absolutely.
Have you gotten any good information out of them?
not really.
Okay.
The market for carpenters, skilled trade, our millennials, there's not a lot that's of that age that are skilled in the
Yeah.
trade. So our aging group, we've had some that's been with us 20, 25 years
Okay.
that are aging. So we need, and we've done the schools, we've done.
And you hadn't had any
the
luck
job
with them?
billboard. It is, but it's still, it's that turnover.
Mm-hmm.
We'll teach them, they'll learn. If
Then
they
they-
get $1 more an hour, doesn't matter that we were going to give you health insurance, doesn't matter that we're going to give you some vacation, it doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
They're getting $1 more.
And that is more probably of a retention strategy than a recruiting strategy because it sounds like you're getting the people, but maybe they're not the right people. So you probably could target some changes on the recruitment side, but that probably needs more of a retention strategy. I think you have my card. I'd be glad to kind of review some information and see if there's any suggestions we have on the retention side that would help. Because we do have clients that face that a lot in some of the trades industries.
No, that's why we shifted our attention up north. And we have hired some because
Good.
we have a large influx from the north down to the south.
Mm-hmm.
We sell them buildings, we see that. People are coming south. Economy seems to be a little better in the south than it is in the north. Weather's better. So they're coming
I
south.
personally think the weather's better.
So-
I think in 15 years of recruiting, I've only had one person tell me that they didn't want to get away from the snow. And I remember thinking, really?
But we've had better success with that.
Anything else?
Business cards and,
Oh yeah, I forgot about a door prize. Don't get
That's
excited,
what
it's
I'm
not
here
super
for.
fancy.
anybody not give us their business card?
I did.
Anybody else want to drop a card in? If you drink coffee, you should drop a card in. If you don't, you aren't missing anything. Here, just stick a D on the back of mine. Sorry, Stephen, you'd be a conflict of interest.